Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the game preview. Everton taking on Aston Villa this Sunday at Goodison Park. It feels like an absolute age since we were last at Goodison Park. We've had a few away games on the spin and obviously that break over the last 10 days or so, but the Toffees are back at home. Sean Dyche's side search for their first win in a number of weeks as well, obviously off the back of that draw with Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, and then a couple of defeats on the spin. Defeats to Wolves away from home, obviously that defeat to Manchester City at Goodison Park, as well as the defeat to Tottenham. So it's all gone downhill since that defeat at Goodison Park against Fulham, which was actually the last time I was at Goodison because I wasn't able to attend the Manchester City game due to illness. So it very much feels like, when I think back to when I was last at Goodison Park, and I think, wow, that feels like an absolute age ago. It not only feels like an age ago because it was my last time at Goodison, but it feels like an age ago because Everton's form has significantly dropped since then as well. The Toffees, of course, searching for our first Premier League win in the last 4 fixtures, 3 defeats. Hopefully we can turn this one into 3 points, but it will not be an easy task when you think about the side that we're facing. Unai Emery's Aston Villa team, who have been absolutely fantastic this season. Very, very close to flawless. They currently sit second in the Premier League table. Now, when they beat us relatively comfortably at Villa Park in August, I remember thinking that was such a poor performance from this Everton side. And even though we'd lost the week before against Fulham at Goodison, the performance warranted much more than a defeat. We were the better team on the day. We created the more opportunities. We deserved to come away from that game with something on the basis of, the amount we created and the amount of the ball that we had. However, the Villa game, we absolutely deserved to take nothing from. We were truly, truly woeful. And I think I said a couple of weeks ago after we lost to Wolves away from home that Wolves defeat was the worst performance this team has put in since that game against Aston Villa at Villa Park. And I remember thinking on the day, wow, these are a solid team. Emery's got these playing well. He's got the players knowing what they're doing. He's got the system right. He's got the signings right. He's got the feeling around the football club right. They could have something special here, but I didn't think they'd be sitting second in the Premier League table come the reverse fixture on Sunday. 20 games played, 13 wins for Aston Villa, 3 draws and only 4 defeats, 42 points. They sit on 3 points behind Liverpool, of course, who are top, 2 points ahead of treble winners Manchester City. Granted, they've played one more game than Manchester City, but still, to be, in the middle of January and be second in the Premier League table above the current champions and the current champions of Europe. I'm sure if you would have said to Aston Villa fans that this would be the case in August, a lot of them would have felt that they'd be top of the league. So maybe they'll feel a little bit disappointed about that. But no, they've had an absolutely fantastic season so far. Let's have a look at some of their previous results. Got a big win in the FA Cup third round against Middlesbrough on Saturday, a 1-0 win away from home. Prior to that in the Premier League, a 3-2 win against Burnley. They did lose 3-2 to Manchester United last time they were away from home in the Premier League. A 1-1 draw with Sheffield United prior to that. A 2-1 win against Brentford. Drew in the Europa Conference League as well, but before that a 1-0 win against Arsenal, a 1-0 win against Manchester City, 2-2 draw with Bournemouth, 2-1 win away at Spurs. They've had some absolutely fantastic results of late, Aston Villa, and there's no surprise that they are where they are. They're playing some really, really good football at the moment. Obviously, Europe is a big thing for them as well, and if they can continue to compete in that Europa Conference League whilst obviously still doing as well as they are doing in the Premier League, then they'll be extremely happy about that. I'm not quite sure where they finished in the in the Conference League in group, but yeah, as I said, they've had an absolutely fantastic season thus far, and Unai Emery has done a brilliant job with them so far. Obviously, when he came in, I don't think anybody, they finished top of Group E with a 5 goal difference. Legia Warsaw finished second, AZ Alkmaar third, and Rinsky Mostar finished fourth. So top of the Europa Conference League group, as well, obviously, as being second in the Premier League. What a first few months of the season they have had. And like I said, when Unai Emery come in, I always felt like this was something that could turn out to be a real positive for Aston Villa. Really good manager, obviously European pedigree, won a lot of Europa League titles in his time as a manager, often dubbed as Mr. Europa League himself. So I always had this feeling that if Aston Villa could get into Europe with Unai Emery obviously as their manager, then there's a very good chance that they could go and win one of those two competitions. Obviously, we've seen West Ham win the Conference League last season and almost say to every other Premier League club, look, if you can get in this competition, there's every chance you can win it. Let's not forget, West Ham won the Conference League in a season where they, for large parts of the season, were being discussed as being a team in a relegation battle. I remember when we played them away from home and Farhad Mashiri was in attendance, and I remember that game being dubbed as whichever manager loses will face the sack out of Frank Lampard and David Moyes. Frank Lampard ended up losing the game not long after was sacked. David Moyes kept his job and went on and won a European trophy. So with a team that is struggling to even survive in the Premier League, I know they ultimately ended up surviving with no problem whatsoever, but for large parts of the season they were really struggling in the league. If they can go and win that Europa Conference League and bring home a European trophy and have that moment that their fans will remember for the rest of their lives, then there's absolutely no reason as to why a team currently second in the Premier League and doing really well can't go out and win it, especially when you think about their manager and the pedigree that their manager has in not necessarily the Conference League, because it's a relatively new competition, sorry, but certainly in the Europa League, which is, I think a lot of people would agree is more difficult than the Conference League. So Villa fans must be absolutely buzzing at the moment. The only thing I've seen Villa fans complain about so far this season is the quality of their kits, which must be an absolutely brilliant position to be in, because trust me, I would absolutely love nothing more than the quality of Everton's kits being our only issue to worry about. If Everton were second in the Premier League and top of their European Conference group, looking like they could potentially go on to win said Europa Conference League as well as finish in the top four in the Champions League, in the top four in the league, I wouldn't care if the shirts disintegrated on the pitch 10 minutes into a game. I wouldn't give a shit about what the shirts were doing as long as we were doing well, and I'm sure Aston Villa fans very much feel the same. But yeah, as I said, they've got a really experienced squad of players there with a number of top quality talents in there, managed by a really experienced top level manager with a lot of pedigree in the European competitions, especially that Europa League. Players like Emiliano Martinez, of course, World Cup winner, doing really well there. Zaniolo, who's come in, Ollie Watkins, who's having an absolutely fantastic season, without a doubt, will be in the thoughts for that Euros coming up. Obviously, Moussa Diaby, Leon Bailey, two players that we have spoken about numerous times on this channel prior to them joining Aston Villa as players that we believed Everton should go for and Everton should try and get. Obviously, we got neither of them, and they both ended up at Aston Villa, which is great. Douglas Luiz obviously in there. Players like John McGinn, who've been there for a while, but very reliable, top quality. You can always rely on them to pick you up pick a game up by the scruff of the neck and really run with it if need be, and go out and get go out and motivate their team to put a better performance in. So, yeah, this will be, without a shadow of a doubt, an extremely difficult game for Sean Dyche and for Everton on Sunday, and I don't expect it to be anything less than a difficult game, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The manager has had his pre-game press conference today. He's spoken about the availability of a couple of players. He was asked about Dwight McNeil's injury, of course, stretchered off in that FA Cup game against Crystal Palace, and he said Dwight has been quite lucky in the sense that the injury isn't anything too serious. However, he feels like this game may be one too many for Dwight McNeil, or one too soon, should I say, rather, and hopefully he will be fit and available to return next week. He spoke about Abdoulaye Doucouré and said that he's been training over the last couple of days, and obviously touching wood that there is no issues between now and Sunday. He should be available and within the squad. And he was also asked about Arnaut Danjuma, who, of course, there's been a lot of rumours about over the last few days or so. We spoke about Arnaut Danjuma on Wednesday, and since then, when his agent had gone on to TalkSport and spoken quite openly about the fact that they were in talks with another club over potentially Danjuma leaving Everton in this window and joining said other club, Lyon. It was. Since then, we had a picture go sort of semi-viral last night on Twitter of Arnaut Danjuma and his agent on a plane, on some form of private jet with some caption like "Brotherhood is always with you" or something along those lines. And that obviously sparked debate and conversation amongst Evertonians about Arnaut Danjuma, and led, I think, a lot of us to believe that the club had given him permission to travel to where we assumed was Lyon to go and continue those talks, or even maybe formally do some form of medical or something, because all as we knew, he was linked with Lyon. His agents had come out and said that they were in talks with Lyon, and the next minute he's on a flight with his agent. We still don't quite know where he was going. Sean Dyche was asked about that today in his press conference, and Sean Dyche said, "I must admit, I did think it was a little bit silly that he was getting flights from Liverpool to Manchester and vice versa. I don't know why he doesn't just drive. It's only 40 minutes, but you know what footballers are like. They like to get their rest in and they like to maximise their time." So, you know, the manager was sort of indicating that the picture on the plane of him and his agent was taking place during a flight going from Manchester Airport to Liverpool Airport. Now, I am not quite sure that flight line is even possible. I'm sure it is possible, because ultimately there's distance there, but there isn't much distance there. That must be the quickest flight ever to be taken. So therefore, I'm not 100% sure whether or not it was a tongue-in-cheek comment by Sean Dyche. He is a very dry, humorous person, and he's said things often before that have been jokes but have come across seemingly a bit more serious. I really don't know with this one, because on one hand, he seems so serious and it doesn't seem like a joke and it doesn't seem like a matter of taking the piss. But on the other hand, logically, I just don't understand why anybody would fly from Manchester Airport to Liverpool Airport when he'd probably be quicker just getting in a car and driving to training, given all of the hassle you've got to go through going through an airport. And I know that he won't have to go through, you know, the same thing everybody else does, but I'm sure all in all that journey would take him longer than what it would if he was to just drive or get somebody to drive him. But I'm not sure. He was asked about the rumours generally, and he said he's an Everton player. He's contracted to Everton. We know he wants to play more, and you know, ultimately he could be in the team tomorrow. He said, or he could be in the team on Sunday. So, yeah, strange situation, that one. Not quite sure what is going to happen with that. But according to the manager today, he is an Everton player and he will be in the thinking for the squad on Sunday. And given Dwight McNeil's out injured, there's a high chance that he will play on Sunday as well. So, yeah, maybe he'll get a flight from Manchester to Goodison Park on Sunday in his full Everton gear, and we'll all be put to rest. But it did baffle me a little bit, that one today, when I saw it, because I remember thinking, I don't know if you're being serious, and if you are not being serious, then where was he flying to? If you are being serious, then why is he flying from Manchester to Liverpool? But anyway, it's beyond the point. The manager said that he's in the thinking for the squad on Sunday, and I'm sure he will feature some part unless there is a twist in the situation between now and then. Yeah. I feel like this is another case of Everton needing to be at their best. Obviously, we have played Aston Villa away from home since that defeat in the league in the earlier rounds of the Carabao Cup. And we picked up a really, really big, really, really impressive win there. And they had a relatively strong team out on that day as well. Not their strongest side, granted, and a couple of important players missing, but they still had a really, really strong side out. So we've proven that we can go and we can beat this Aston Villa side, and we can, we can ultimately put a good enough performance in to get something there. And Aston Villa, as well as they've done this season, and they've done absolutely brilliantly, they have had moments where they've slipped up. A draw with Sheffield United, being one of the big moments, a defeat to Manchester United, of course. I think they were 2-0 up in that game as well. Yeah, 2-0 up in that game and completely let it slip at a huge moment. So they've shown at times that they are capable of making mistakes, and they are capable of gifting teams opportunities. And ultimately, it's up to Everton on Sunday to be able to not only take advantage of those opportunities, but try and force Aston Villa into making those mistakes as well. We can't just sit back and let them have all the ball and let them play round us, because it could be quite a comfortable afternoon for them if we allow them to do that. They've shown multiple times that they're not afraid to go away from home and put a good performance in. So the onus really is on Everton on Sunday to ultimately be able to go out there and like I said, give 110%, battle, throw yourselves at absolutely every challenge, make sure that, you're not backing away from anything, and any opportunity that ultimately arises, be able to be ready to take it. As I said, it will be difficult because these are a fantastic side in a really good bit of form at the moment, with a manager that clearly knows what he's doing and has had a fantastic start to the season. But it's not an impossible task. And it's also important to remember how big of a game this is for Everton. Let's not forget, Everton have lost 3 Premier League games on the spin, so it's not like a case of, it's one that we can afford to throw away, or it's one that we can afford to lose. It really isn't. That draw with Crystal Palace was obviously clouded hugely by the red card decision, which has now been overturned. But prior to that, 3 Premier League defeats on the bounce, and although, in the game against Tottenham we were unlucky and we probably should have got more out of it, and there was every reason to still be proud of the team. In the game against City, put in a fantastic first half, just didn't quite have the gas in the second half to keep it up, but again, still a lot of positives to take from that performance. Not so much the Wolves game. We won't talk too much about that because that was absolutely horrendous. But even if there are positives to take from these performances, even if there have been moments where we've sat there and said, you know what, even though we lost today, I'm not too overly disappointed by it. We've still lost 3 Premier League games on the spin. And, in our last 5 games, we've lost 3, drawn 2, but really we've lost 4, drawn 1. So we need to pick up a win at some point down the line, and we've got some real difficult fixtures coming up. Crystal Palace replaying the Cup on Wednesday. We've then obviously got Fulham away from home, which will be a difficult game. Spurs at home, City away, Palace at home, Brighton away, West Ham at home, United away. So up until the 9th of March, we've got some really tricky and really difficult fixtures, especially away from home. So we need to start picking up points at Goodison Park, and this will without a doubt be a difficult game because of how well Aston Villa are doing and the confidence flowing through Aston Villa at the moment. And it also seems like everything that happens to them turns to gold. But that doesn't mean that it's an impossible task, and it's very, very possible that Everton can turn up on Sunday, put a brilliant performance in, and come away with what would be a huge 3 points. So let's hope that we can manage to do that. Let's get into our predicted starting 11 then ahead of this one. As I said, the manager has had his pre-game press conference today. We are going to go with Jordan Pickford in goal. Obviously left out of that FA Cup fixture against Crystal Palace, which was a little bit of a mad decision for me. I didn't think Sean Dyche was the type of manager to make that type of decision, but he did make it, and João Virginia stepped in and done well. But ultimately, Jordan Pickford is our number 1 goalkeeper, and in Premier League games, Jordan Pickford should be starting every week. So Jordan in goal. I'm going to go for the back 4 of Vitaly Mykolenko at left back. Again, not many options here. The manager did say Ashley Young is back on the grass and improving in his recovery from his injury, but the likelihood of him being available to start this game on Sunday is incredibly unlikely. So I'm going to go Vitaly Mykolenko, who has had a decent season so far. Slipped a little bit of late, but again, fatigue and tiredness and being overplayed probably comes into it there. 2 centre-backs, absolute no-brainer. James Tarkowski and Jared Brandtwaite. There isn't a whale, pardon me, where they don't start for me on Sunday. I know there's a talk of, or a potential of a back 5, given we're playing Aston Villa and they're doing really well, and I think we beat Aston Villa using a back 5 away from home in the Cup earlier this season. But for me, like I said after the game against Wolves, I don't think Everton should be playing a back 5 ever again. I don't think it helps anybody. I think defensively we're much better in a back 4 than we are a back 5, because that extra man just complicates things. It makes Jared Brandtwaite more uncomfortable. It makes James Tarkowski more more uncomfortable, and ultimately our fullbacks aren't good enough going forward to be able to balance that out. So for me, it should be a back four. It should be Tarkowski. It should be Jared Brandtwaite in there. Right back, I'm going to go with Seamus Coleman. I think this is one where we may need a little bit more experience in there. And don't get me wrong, I think Nathan Patterson has got the potential to be a really good, promising right back. He's had moments this season where he's looked strong and he's looked good, and he's had other moments this season where he's looked really inexperienced and he's been exposed for it. The reality of the situation is Everton are already lacking leadership and experience in this side. We've got a young side, a really, really young side with a lot of players in there that are under the age of 25 years old. You know, you think about from top to bottom, you've got McNeil in there who's only young. Okay, you've got Jack Harrison in there, Dom in there who's a little bit older, but McNeil, you've got Onana and James Garner in the middle of the park who are, you know, again, under 25 years old. You've got Mikalenko on one side, Nathan Patterson's been on the other side, both under 25 years old, Jared Brandtwaite at the centre of the fence. So you've got more players in this side that are of an age where they may be needing that experienced player next to them, or that experienced leader in the squad, more so than the other way round. So yeah, I'm going to go with Seamus in there. I think, you know, obviously when he come on against Palace, I think he done okay. Provided a little bit of solidity, provided a little bit of, as I said, know-how and experience in there. And I think for me, the reality of the situation is Seamus Coleman, when fit, is our best fullback. So he starts, and it's as simple as that. Into the midfield, then, I am going to go with James Garner and Amadou Onana as a two, with Abdoulaye Doucouré in front of them. Obviously, touching wood that nothing happens between now and Sunday. I think if Abdoulaye Doucouré is fit and available and injury-free, then he absolutely has to play. He absolutely has to play. He's so important to this side. We've seen numerous times in his Everton career, but especially over the last few weeks, just how important he is to this team when he's not in there through an injury or through, you know, a suspension. We're just so much worse when he's not in there. We don't seem to know what we're doing. Players don't seem to be able to execute the manager's game plan. We just don't. We're just much better off when he's in there. And if he's fit and available, then he absolutely should be in there. The other two for me, unquestionable. I know there's a lot of rumours about Onana at the moment, and I know there's a selection of the fan base that aren't particularly fond of him, but the reality is he's been our best player this season. He's been our best midfielder this season. You could argue James Garner has as well, but for every off game Onana has had, James Garner has had one equally as bad. It just doesn't get highlighted as much. Plus, we've got no other options there. So, yeah, Onana and James Garner in there for me in the centre of midfield. And then the forward line, I'm going to go with who I think he will go with, and that is Danjuma, Jack Harrison, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Obviously, Dwight McNeil is out injured, so that leaves a space. I do think it will be Danjuma. There's a part of me that wants to say he'll pick Dobbin instead, because there's a part of me that thinks there's more in this Danjuma stuff than what the manager has made out today in his press conference. But if it is as plain and simple as he got a flight to training, then really he should be in this team on Sunday, because we've got nobody else to fill that space, and he's done well when he's come on of late in games. He's been bright, he's been lively, he's done well against Palace. I know we weren't great and he wasn't great, but he did okay. And then, yeah, I suppose Jack Harrison at this point is pretty much a nailed on. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, obviously that red card has been rescinded, so he's available for this game. He may go with Beto, but I just think he believes Dom is a better forward and offers more, and therefore I think against the best teams in the league, of which Aston Villa are one of them at the moment, you've got to go with the better option. So there you go. That is my predicted starting 11. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. It will be a difficult game, this. It will absolutely be a difficult one, and one that Everton could struggle in, but it's one that Everton could go out and win as well. And I think the mentality absolutely needs to be that we've got to go out and win, because if we don't win, it will be 4 Premier League defeats on the spin that we have lost. 4 Premier League games on the spin that we have lost, and that would just be catastrophic. given the fact that we could be in the relegation zone tonight, dependent on the result of the game between Luton and Burnley. So huge game tomorrow, huge opportunity. On Sunday, huge opportunity. We all know it will be difficult, but hopefully we can pull something out of the bag and go and get all 3 points. There you go. We're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe as well. We'll be back with the instant match reaction and the player ratings and all of that stuff after the game, so look out for those. But until then, big thank you all for watching. Up the toffees, and we'll see you later.